करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Hari Om and good evening all. We continue with the discussion on what is surrender. So we said that in the last class that true surrender is essentially having these 6 qualities as defined in Hari Bhakti Vilasa by Sanatana Goswami. So he says, I'm just quickly recapturing the 6 points. So Anukulasya Sankalpaha is a conducive thought that a devotee or a refugee has, which is in alignment with what is in good for his master. Pratikulasya Varjanam means that simultaneously the other side of the coin is that he rejects all those things which is not conducive to him who he surrenders to. And 3 and 4 go together, that there is absolute acceptance of this person having chosen as the ultimate protector, and that he has that absolute faith and conviction that he will protect him at all costs. All these are essentially part of what is given in point number 5 as the complete surrender or self-resignation, Atmanikshepa. Having gone there, you just submit yourself complete to him, and then how you conduct yourself is with extreme humility, or the quality of karpanya is given. This particular attitude of surrender is commented upon by great masters, and they have given it a title which is equivalent to that of a relationship between, an intimate relationship between that of husband and wife. It is called as Shuddhanta Siddhanta. The name is Shuddhanta Siddhanta. Anta means, you say Antapura means what is deeply inside, the private quarters. Shuddhanta means it is referring to the private quarters where the husband and wife are alone. Siddhanta is this philosophy. So this philosophy of a relationship between a devotee and a god, a person who surrenders, a person who is a refugee, and that of the master unto whom he surrenders, it is as intimate or more than that of the private relationship between a husband and a wife. So if we are able to understand what is the dharma of what is known as a pativrata. Pativrata means a lady who has completely surrendered herself, and in marriage she has merged herself into the personality of the husband. What will be her thought process? It will be more or less the same thought process, because this is the marriage between the Jivatma, the individual, and the Paramatma, the Supreme Self. So she will think in terms of what is good and welfare of the husband only. Her sankalpa is like that. She will refrain from all those things which are not conducive or not in favorable from the husband's point of view. She has taken him to be the protector on the basis of in the traditional marriage, even now, which is there prevalent in this part of the country, you will know that it is that the father of the bride who has to check the qualities of the bridegroom. He, having done all those things, he makes sure that it is the right match for the, let's say, the girl, and she goes by that utter faith in that father who is choosing the groom for her. I mean, if you are able to understand this idealistic situation, I'm just saying. So it is the Guru who is able to link us with the God, and we have that firm faith, because who is that Guru? That Guru is one who introduced that Supreme Self to us, and his duty is to catch hold of our hand and give it unto him. So from now on, our conviction is that that person will protect us. That is why even today, when marriages are conducted according to the traditions, in whichever way, they do have some Vedic mantras are there in us. The mantra is that till having got hold of her hand in my hand, it is my duty to protect her. This is how the mantra goes. So it is exactly like that. Having surrendered, the transference of responsibility is to the other person. So from now on, it is his duty to protect us. We were discussing in detail about Vibhishana's surrender in the last class, one of the ideal surrenders. So there what happens is that having surrendered himself completely to the Lord, he is now free. He is absolutely free. It becomes sort of Rama's headache to make sure that whatever promise he has given to Vibhishana, that has to be taken care of. As far as Vibhishana is concerned, he has no more worries or anxieties with him. Even when Rama was bound by the Naga Pasha or the Nagastra, or later when he was going through certain anxious moments even during the war, his worry was not about even retrieving Sita, his worry was not about even saving Lakshmana, his worry was not even about his promise to Bharata, where he has said after 14 years immediately I will come, otherwise Bharata will even enter the fire. But his first and primary worry is that having given the word to Vibhishana, how am I going to fulfill this? This is dramatized in this way. So all that becomes that transference of responsibility unto him, and you need to have that conviction, you need to have that acceptance, and then there is a complete surrender unto that husband, and she becomes one with that family. She becomes, after that she conducts herself with an extreme humility. Now, when she does like that, what happens is that that husband has no other choice but to go along with that chaste contact of his wife. This is what is the effect of surrender. It is very, very interesting. That is why we said, by surrendering, we think that we are losing our freedom, but it is not so. By surrendering, actually, we are gaining complete freedom. To the extent, Lord says that I am under the control of my devotee. It's very, very interesting. In the Bhagavad, again, there is a story of the King Ambarisha, one of the greatest devotees of God, King Ambarisha. King Ambarisha and his wife used to be extremely devoted to Lord, and they were doing their rituals, everything. He had, though he was the ruler of the entire world also, he did not consider himself to be the ruler. He considered himself to be the ultimate devotee of the God, and he left it unto him as to whatever position that he was kept by the Lord. It is interesting that it is easy to understand when a person is in a very, very dire strait and a low state, that he has that complete surrender towards the Lord. But having been the ruler of the entire universe, what is the attitude shown by Ambarisha is what is very inspiring here. So, as it were, a test comes to him that Durvasa comes, and he says that Durvasa is famous for feasting. He is famous for his anger if something goes wrong in that also. We have seen that story in Mahabharata also. And here also he says that he will go take bath and come, and Ambarisha should wait for him, and he waits after his vrata. But before the auspicious time goes, he has to consume something that has been his 1 year vrata. So for the sake of it, he takes in 1 drop of water, by which time Durvasa appears and he is extremely angry. And he sort of invokes a force, a negative force, which is coming to devour Ambarisha. So, because of his devotion, the Sudarshan Chakra of Vishnu, that is coming as a counter to it. Ambarisha was very, he did not move at all. He was not, he just was accepting whatever was coming. He had no word to say, he has nothing. He was of that caliber, he was of that state. But the Sudarshan Chakra, which was Lord Vishnu's chakra, that comes, kills that negative force, and it is now chasing Durvasa. Durvasa is going to Brahma, taking refuge in him. Brahma says, no, sorry, I can't do anything. He goes to Kailasha, to Vishnu, to Shiva. Shiva says, sorry, I cannot do anything. He goes to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is where Lord Vishnu is there, and the Sudarshan Chakra actually belongs to him. And the chakra is chasing. Okay, this is Very beautiful dramatization, beautiful story this is. So there, Durvasa and Vishnu is having a conversation. So Vishnu is asking, what's happened? Why are you running? He says, this is what I did. I did a wrong to your devotee. In a fit of anger, I just released a negative force against him. And your chakra came and it is chasing me all. It seems there is no way for me out of this. So I come and fall to your feet. At that point of time, Vishnu says, he says, I cannot help you. That is the best part of the story. He says, having gone to that person and having fallen at his feet, which is like surrender, to whom the chakra belongs also, Vishnu says, sorry, I cannot help you. And then there is a advice that he gives. He says, you think that somebody can come in between me and my devotee. Devotee here is Ambarisha and me is the self, the Lord Vishnu. He says that is just not possible. And that is where Lord Vishnu says that I am sort of bound to my devotee as a husband is bound to his chaste, loyal wife. The word that he uses there is Aham Bhakta Paradinaha. We know of Supreme Self to be completely independent. It is the Supreme Entity, all by its own, infinite, all that is fine. That infinite entity now is saying that Aham Bhakta Paradinaha. That is why in Bhagavad is the essence of all scriptures. In that, Krishna says in one place that it is easy that he will give even mukti, which is liberation, but to give that sort of bhakti is very difficult. And the interpreters have interpreted in beautiful way that why is he saying that to give bhakti is much more difficult than mukti is, because as it were, bhakti binds the Lord. He doesn't want to get bound. It's a beautiful way of interpretation. So here he says, I have no choice but to be under the control of my devotee. Nobody can come in between us. What is the relationship? He says is that of a good husband and wife is our relationship. See, this wife, what she does is that whatever condition the husband keeps her, she accepts that with utter humility, and there is no complaint about it. Sita was very happy in Ayodhya, in the opulence of palace. Sita was very happy in the forest where there was no luxury at all. She was very happy in whichever place Rama kept her. It's like that. So a devotee also, whether he is in opulence or whether he is in penury, whether he is with riches or whether he is poor, whether he is with a great good family or whether he is with somebody who is not conducive also, he thinks that this is what my Lord has kept me in, and he accepts that. Second point is, the wife, whatever be her difficulty, she will not go and complain to some other person or some other man and talk about her woes and get his help or want to do that. Whatever be her difficulty, her direct contact or her direct conversation is only with her husband. It is exactly like that. My devotee, whenever he is in any danger or he is in any trouble, he has a direct conversation with me only. He does not go to anybody else, anywhere else. For him, I am the only fixation. He comes to me alone. Thirdly, whatever small gift that the husband gives also to the wife, be it a very normal sari that he buys or something, she treats it with a great enthusiasm, and she might even tell everybody, her in-laws or her mother or whatever it is, that he has got it for me, something like that. It is exactly like that. However small or anything is provided to my devotee, he considers that and takes it with great enthusiasm, and he says it is the grace of the Lord. It is the grace of the Lord. And we understand finally that her only fixation is the husband, and whatever is conducive, all these qualities that I have given, it is exactly like that. So when such a person is there, how can I be deviated anywhere else? So he says, Aham Bhakta Paradinaha. So then what is the solution here for Durvasa? Vishnu shows the way again. He says, you have to surrender, correct? But who to whom? Go and fall at the feet of Ambarisha. Actually, Durvasa was waiting for this. And he goes and falls at the feet of Ambarisha. Ambarisha is taken aback. And obviously, true to his stature, he says, if at all my devotion to Vishnu is true, is proper, then the chakra should go, and it goes. See, here also you have to remember, Durvasa was not no ordinary person. Okay, these stories that show, whether we take the story of Vishwamitra, where he fell for Menaka, Durvasa, who is famous for his anger, these great rishis or great mahatmas are lending their names to show the greatness of the other person. To show the greatness of Ambarisha, this dramatization has to happen. So Durvasa was no lesser person, because the moment that portion comes in Bhagavad, the title given is Bhagavan Durvasa. Bhagavan means he is Bhagavan, and he is dramatizing like this. So what does this story show? We were talking about this Goptrutva Varana. You have to choose the right person for protection. So here, ultimately, having got to the gods also, you must know where to fall, where to get protected. That is where you have to catch hold of it. And in this case, even if you have done something wrong against the God, probably there is chance for you to redeem yourself when you ultimately surrender yourself. But if you have done something wrong against his devotee, even God has no control. So the story of Ambarisha shows that if you are doing something wrong or some wrong act even against the God, probably there is more redemption. But if you have done something wrong against the devotee, unto whom the Lord is bound, there is probably no redemption except that you go unto the devotee only. So the relationship between one who surrenders and the master unto whom he or she surrenders is that of like a husband and a wife. It is. So then the Lord himself, as it were, becomes bound to such a person. Now, this surrender is what is given in the ultimate shlokas of what we discussed in Ramayana and Varaha Purana. But the final shloka of Bhagavad Gita says that, the famous shloka says that, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. Relinquishing fully all dharmas, natures, and take refuge in me alone, I will liberate you from all sins. Grieve not. So this is actually talking about the ultimate surrender. This is talking about the surrender at the highest level. When you talk about, those who have heard Swamiji's lectures on this, he even mentions it in some context when he talks about other chapters of Gita or in some other lectures also. It says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, relinquishing fully all dharmas. Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Take refuge in me alone, as though you have completed everything and you come there. And then he says, Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami. Then I will liberate you from all sin. Grieve not, don't worry, he says. So if a person is already at that level, he has crossed over all dharmas and he is completely surrendered unto that, what is more to be done? That is correct in a way. So he is talking about here of a refugee or a person who surrenders, who is at the highest level. Sarva Dharman Parityajya means he has crossed over all dharmas and obviously including all adharmas and everything. There is nothing more to be done. There is nothing more sadhana to be undertaken, etc. And at that stage where he has reached the very highest stage of his evolution, there is no other thought for him that he, as it were, enters into him. Like imagine a person in the seat of meditation goes finally and merges his thought into the self, as it were, like that it is. So, is there any doubt about his liberation at all? No doubt at all. No doubt at all. But the question is, who is qualified here? Who is qualified here to do this type of a surrender? It's very, very high level. It is talking about a adhikari who is at a high level, who considers himself to be the self, who is at that very height of evolution. He is already a jnani or is in the doorsteps of jnanam. He is like that is. So for such a person it is given. Then the question arises, then when are we going to reach that stage? When are we going to have this type of a surrender? When are we? So is Bhagavad Gita then not for us? No, that is not the case. Go one verse before this. This is the last portion of Gita which is talking about surrender only. As I said, all the scriptures finally culminate in surrender. Chapter 18 verse 65. One verse before that he says, Manvana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Fix the mind on me, be devoted to me, sacrifice to me, bow down to me. Truly I promise you shall come to me alone. You are dear to me. This is also talking about surrender, but you can clearly understand the tone of this verse is slightly different from the tone of the verse that we saw previously. That is verse 66. There he is talking about Sarva Dharman Parityaja. That is, leave alone every dharma, he says. Here he says, fix your mind on me. Be devoted to me. Sacrifice to me. Bow down to me. That means you make your life in such a way that you are only living for me. At the mental level, you are, at the intellect level, you are fixed on me. At the mental level, you are devoted to me. In the action level, when you do yajna or sacrifice, that is towards me. In ego level, you surrender and bow down to me. If you do all those things, then he says, truly I promise that you shall come to me alone. You are dear to me. Pratijane, know very well. Priyosime, you are very dear to me. This is very encouraging also, but this also is at a very high level. One step below the previous level. So that means here he is talking about your entire life being dedicated to him. You are still doing actions, you are still doing various other things, but all those things are dedicated unto him. Once you are right on that track, there is no way that you are going to be deviated anywhere. I promise that you are going to reach me as the destination. You are definitely dear to me. This is a promise. This also is true, but again, it is probably at a high level. So is there no scope for us, for most of us who are at a different level, who are at a lower level? In the same Bhagavad Gita, he is very clear that there is scope for all of us also. In the portion where he starts this verses on surrender, about 9 verses before, chapter 18, verse 56, he says, Sarva karmanyapi sada kurvano mat vyapashrayaha mat prasadat avapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. Performing all actions, always taking refuge in me, by my grace, he reaches the eternal, indestructible abode. Very clearly, you can distinguish the tone of verse 56 and verse 66. There he says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. That means leave all actions, leave all dharmas, leave everything. Of course, there what is being talked about is dharman in plural. Dharman in plural refers to all the dharmas that you can conceive of, what you have been doing all this while and has made you reach up to this point. You have to cross over that also. In terms of Swamiji's commentary also, he says very clearly, leave the dharma of the body, which is its perceptions and actions. Rise above the dharma of the mind, which is its emotions. Rise above the dharma of the intellect, which is its thoughts, thinking and ideologies. And there is no other sankalpa. There's surrender. Here that is not the case. He says, Sarva karmanyapi, not just good actions, not just positive actions. He says, Sarva karmanyapi sada. This is where it gives us some solace. So there are people who surrender who are talked about at 3 levels. At the highest level is talked about a person who is beyond papa and punya. Obviously, when he is beyond punya means he is beyond papa also. A person cannot do meritorious actions unless otherwise he has resolved himself to come out of the sinful actions also. So when he says Sarva Dharman, it is talking about beyond all the punya karmas, beyond all the papa karmas. Punya apunya vivarjita pantaha, says Bhajagovind. It is at that stage. When he talks about at the middle level, he is talking about those who are doing punya karma, those who are doing highly evolving actions. That is why he says, fix my mind on me and do actions to me, bow down to me, all those things he says at that second level, where he has well risen about, he is a great person, he is an evolving person who has no connection with his past vasanas or anything. He is a very highly evolved person. He will do rightful actions, and yet all those rightful actions are directed towards the self. But here, Sarva Karmani means here is a person who is at a level who is doing both Punya Karma and Papa Karma. He has not still got rid of his selfishness. He is still in the samsara, he is caught up in his household activities, doing all sorts of activities, and yet he is also given an opportunity, he is also given a chance that he says, you can surrender unto me. Sarva Karmanyapi, api means also. Sarva Karmani means doing all actions also. Also, even if you are at the level of doing all actions, Kurvanaha, Mad Vyapashrayaha, if you are able to dedicate all that actions unto me, if you are able to do those actions in thinking of me, whatever be the actions, here, whatever be the actions. He says, Mat Prasadat, it is by my grace, Avapnoti, you will also finally reach that Shashvatam Padam Abhyayam. You will also reach that indestructible abode, which is me only. So that means there is scope for all of us at all levels, whichever level we belong to. There is enough, promise. There is enough guarantee that that we will be reaching there. These are very encouraging verses, and the stories in the Itihasa and Purana shows that this surrender, all are qualified. All are qualified for this, because artha or emotional disturbance is universal. When a person has problem within himself, when he is stressed inside, when he is having problem inside, ultimately at that stage, let us say he looks up to something for help. Technically here we call it a surrender to God. He looks up to something for help. Now who has not got a problem? Everybody has got a problem. Can anybody say that they are free from all problems? No. So therefore, if everybody has a problem, everybody is also become automatically a qualified person for this surrender. That is why in the stories we see that men have surrendered, women have surrendered also. Mirabai or Draupadi are examples of that. Animal has surrendered, a Gajendra or elephant has surrendered, Rakshasa has surrendered, that is Vibhishna, Asura has surrendered, that is Vrittasura, a Pishasha has also surrendered, which is Gantakarana. Prahalada has surrendered, whoever it is, a king has surrendered, a Brahmin has surrendered, a Vaishya has surrendered. You take anybody, any community he belongs to, any language he may speak, any nationality may belong to, all that doesn't matter. As long as his relationship with God is clear at whichever stage he is, to that extent, he is qualified for this surrender. Whether you accept or not, that is not the point. Krishna accepts it. Lord accepts it. That is why in the 7th chapter, Krishna says, Artho Jignasu Rattati Jnani Cha Bharatarshava. Jnani Cha means Jnani also. Jnani also surrenders. Cha means and also. You cannot translate that into English and have that feeling of and also. What do you say in Indian language? In Bengali, I do not know. Maybe O. Ami O means I also. In Tamil, it is means he also. That sort of a thing. In Sanskrit, it is cha. Jnani cha. Artha means a person who is in distress. Artharthi means who is seeking wealth, who is seeking some benefits. Jignasu means who is seeking at the intellectual level. Interpretation is twice that he can be even seeking liberation. But then he says Jnani cha. Jnani is one who is able to see me everywhere and everywhere in me, and he also surrenders. Jnanavan mam prapadyate, and that is the price that he takes there. So that means in a wide spectrum, udara sarvayevete, whether you accept them as devotees or not, God has accepted them as devotees. So there is no issues with that. Therefore, surrender is a dharma that is applicable to all of us. At whichever level we are capable and we must attempt to surrender. So here is a person who is at a level that he is only performing normal household activities and other things, good and bad also mixed together because of the past vasanas and forces. He is performing various other actions also. Even at that stage, if he comes across this, and if he is rightly resolved, he can surrender unto Lord and redeem himself. Now, how does he do that? The formula is given in same Bhagavad Gita in chapter 9. One of the best portions of Gita, I would say. See, chapter 9 is a very peculiar chapter. We know that 15th chapter, 13th chapter, these are all generally, maybe universally considered as the subtlest of chapters. It is talking at the Upanishad level. And you have to listen to Swamiji when he takes classes on 15th or 13th chapter. He gets very, very inspired. And there are other subtle portions also in Gita, 4th chapter. We talks about 12 yajnas, like that it is. Such a portion comes in 9th chapter also. 9th chapter, first 10 verses, is talking about the very highest philosophy. It is talking about the relationship between Prakriti and Purusha. And as it were, Krishna confuses so much and then makes it very clear that it resolves very many issues there. First portion is very, very subtle. But the last portion of the 9th chapter is down to earth to such an extent that he talks to the last person in the world also, like that. So such a contrasting chapter is the 9th chapter. So 9th chapter that way is very, very inspiring. So there he says in verse 29, he is talking about his general status. He says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. The same am I in all beings, there is none hateful or dear to me. But those who worship me with devotion, they are in me and I am also in them. The status of self is that it is a neutral witness. The status of self is that it has samabuddhi, means it's absolutely a neutral entity. It is understandable from the pure consciousness point of view, where it acts like a petrol in a car. This example everybody will know. It is given in Vedanta treatise, and in every lecture at some point of time or the other, Swamiji will bring this in to make the point very clear. Petrol is a neutral witness. It has no desire to go anywhere, not to go anywhere, but without it nothing can be done. It is the same in all cars, whether it is a Maruti car or a Benz car, it is the same. Exactly like that. The God principle is the same whether you are an Aboriginal person or a Ramatirtha or a Christ or whoever you are. Again, there is no, the motive behind petrol is that it should not make you get into an accident or safe driving. Ambulance may save lives, or another car may kill another person, but the onus is not upon the petrol, it is upon the driver. Like that it is. So like that, with this example, we understand what is the status of Brahman and what is its relation. It is a neutral witness. No doubt about it, there's no question about it. And this is what he shows in the Avatara Gata also, that Krishna shows in Mahabharata. Even though Duryodhana has shown tendencies against Krishna's welfare, where he wants to arrest him when he came as a Shanti Doot also, after that, when both Arjuna and Duryodhana approach him in a lying pose, he says, I am available for both. I am having samabuddhi for both who approach me. It is up to you how to use me. That's what it is. If you are wanting to use me in an ambulance car, I am there ready for you. If you want me to use in a terrorist way to kill other persons, I am ready for that also. Like that it is. He is making himself available. But what is the relationship with him and Arjuna? For Duryodhana, he may ask him help as a diplomatic person, all that. So he says the army is there, I am there, who we want, and he chooses the army, that's all fine. But as far as Arjuna is concerned, it is not that his relationship with Krishna is merely that of a diplomat. He is an extremely devoted person. In fact, the whole of Pandavas. Therefore, according to the level that a person does bhakti, he says, I am available for that. That is being just. That is being fair-minded. So neutrality is not something that you don't participate in either side. Neutrality is that you align towards dharma because the dharmic people are aligned towards you. This must be very carefully understood. In the same Mahabharata, Balarama took a stance that he is not going to participate in the war. There were only two Kshatriyas who did not participate in the war. One was Rukmi, brother of Rukmini, and one was Balarama, brother of Krishna. Balarama went on a Tirtha Yatra. He was also very upset about the war. He went on a Tirtha Yatra. We are not commenting about that. But Krishna was very neutral in the war also. He did not participate, but he sided with the Pandavas because Dharma was on that side. That is what is known as neutrality. This is in fact neutrality. This must be understood in the modern context where people are talking about being neutral also. Being neutral does not mean that you stay equidistant from Dharma and Adharma. In alliance with Dharma, when you go what is right, when you say that is what is the just thing. So this is the stance that Krishna takes. This is the stance that God takes. But what is his relationship? His relationship is, if you are able to do bhakti towards him 10%, he relates with you 10%. If you are able to do bhakti towards him with 50%, he is able to freely move towards you up to that level, 50%. If you are able to completely surrender it to him, he has sold himself to you. This is what the stories of various devotees show. That is why you have to understand surrender at various levels, relationship with Krishna at various levels. So to those unto whom who has surrendered, he says, Yoga Kshemam Mahamyaham. In the 9th chapter only it comes. Yoga Kshemam Mahamyaham means, I will take care of your well-being also. So we see in this stories of the devotees, very inspiring, whether it is Namdev or Tukaram, who have sold themselves completely unto him. To take care of the family is his responsibility. Then it seems to be very inspiring, very nice. Then why does not Krishna do for us? You have to be of that qualification and that quality of thus devotee. So for you, what he has done, he has also given karmanyevadikarasya. You do your duty. Don't put your responsibility unto me when you are at the level of your karma. But then how you can do? You can do thinking of me. And then I will graduate you to their level also. So it is only fair that God is able to relate with his devotees to the extent that this person shows the surrender or devotion to him. So therefore, he makes a very generic statement here saying that I am the same in all beings. There is nobody that I hate, or there is nobody that is who is per se dear to me. I am a neutral witness. But those who worship me with devotion, they are in me and I am in them. That is why at various places in Gita also he says, he is very dear to me. He is very dear to me. He is very dear to me. As though others are not. It is not so. It is like that Mercury which is near to me. The sun says, I like it very much and I bestow most light on him. Why? Because it is close to me. That's about all. Sun being a neutral witness is showering its light everywhere. But it is up to you to get close and get that upon yourself. So this verse talks about a generic statement here. Then he goes on to say, this is what is very inspiring. Api chet suduracharaha. Next verse. Api chet suduracharaha. Bhajate mam ananyabhak. Sadureva samantavyaha. Samyak vyavasito hi saha. Acharaha means conduct. Duracharaha means bad conduct. Suduracharaha means extremely bad conduct. Wicked person, extremely wicked person. Api chet suduracharaha. Even if a very wicked person bhajate, worships me, what? The catch word here is ananyabhak. It is in the same chapter, 9th chapter. Two terms are used, very, very powerful terms. Verse 22, he says, ananya chinta. Ananya chintayantoma ejana paryupasate. There he says, ananya chinta. Here he says, ananya bhakti, ananyabhak. Very important. Your thought is fixed with no other thought. That is ananya chinta. Your feeling is fixed with no other feeling. That is ananya bhakti. This ananya bhakti itself is at various levels. Great masters have commentated. A bhakti at a lower level, not wanting any other fruit, is also ananya bhakti. You say somebody has a bhakti towards Lord to get the fruit of money, to get power, and he has accepted them also be devotees, but they are wanting that bhakti, they are using the bhakti to get something back in the world. But ananya bhakti means he is not wanting all those fruits. He is not wanting any worldly fruits. It is only that fruit. It is only him that he wants. So therefore it is ananya bhakti. That is at one level. Second is no other ashraya, no other refugee. Ananya bhakti means only to me alone. He doesn't even understand the existence of any other gods. In that sense, he is only devoted towards me in one level. That is ananya bhakti. Fixation on a particular form of God is also ananya bhakti. At the next level is no other sadhana. This is a very high level of bhakti. That is, Ananya Bhakti means I'll do this, but I'll also do some yajna. I'll also do some Vedic study. I'll also do no. At that level, you have come and you have got rid of. That is that Sarva Dharman Parijyajam. You renounce all the sadhana, all the, and you just are only surrendered. There's no other sadhana there. At the highest level of Ananya Bhakti is you understand that there is nothing else apart from him. So this is where it culminates. So at various levels it is understood. Therefore, when he is going to get fixated on me, who? Even a Suduracharaha, a person who is extremely wicked. Example of Ajamila comes always, that is quoted in the commentaries also, a person who went up to the level of leaving every proper trait that he had, and he was doing extremely, sinful things throughout his life. Towards the end of his life, he even took Lord's name, not because of Lord's name, his son's name he called. His son's name was Narayana and he called that. From there, he was redeemed. That's a very inspiring story. So all these stories are given to show that we also have redemption. Even so, what is the method? So if Lord gives salvation to Prahlada also, Hanuman also, and he gives to you and me also, and to give Ajamila also, everybody, then it seems there seems to be no differentiation, or there seems to be something wrong. No, that is not the point. The point is how he is going to go step by step to come to that stage where he is going to be drawn towards liberation. But at first itself, what he says, the moment he shows that bhakti, he is sadhureva samantavyaha. Sadhureva samantavyaha means the moment he starts having devotion to me, he is considered as a sadhu. Here is also a lesson for all of us. If a person is very wicked, if a person's conduct is very bad, if a person who is nothing to do with spirituality or religiosity or anything for that matter, you don't condemn him. You are not the custodian of his conscience. It is up to God and him to relate and things get resolved among themselves. So, as far as you are concerned, if you think he has moved, he's even turned his face towards that direction, you consider him as a sadhu only. Sadhu reva samantavyaha. Why? Samyak vyavasito hi saha. Samyak vyavasito hi saha means he is rightly resolved. He is rightly resolved. We'll come back to this. In the next verse, he says, then what happens? This is even inspiring more. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Kshipram means just like this. Kshipram means just like this. Bhavati, he becomes a dharmatma. He becomes a soon Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Sashvat shantim nigacchati. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, pratijanihi. No, for certain. Name bhakta pranashyati. This is a great assurance Lord gives here. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma means soon he becomes righteousness. Soon means just in this janma itself. Just now. It cannot be explained. It is just like that. So however much we have collected our past vasanas and however janmas that we have crossed also, that is why we say, see, imagine Krishna talking like this in a text which is talking about Akshara and Uttama Purusha also. See the contrast. It is only, we can say, the compassion of the Lord that he has come down to our level and talking like this, that he says, he indeed becomes Dharmatma quickly. That responsibility is mine. And then he goes to the eternal abode and he tells Arjuna, Pratijanihi, know for certain my devotee never perishes. How does he become quickly this? He becomes, and see, you need to connect these two only. He says, Apichet suduracharaha, even if he is a wicked person, and the last line here, Name Bhakta Pranashyati. So that means, even if you are the most wicked person, my devotee does not perish. If you connect these two, in between is the link and bridges that are given. How does he become a Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma? He becomes Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma because Samyak Vyavasito hi saha. His resolution is rightly resolved. See, what happens is that our mind goes through highs and lows, ups and downs, good and bad. At various points of time, we go through various mood swings. A person who is drinking alcohol. He's a good person, but he has gotten into that habit because of bad company or friends or whatever it is. He has gotten into that habit. If such a habit becomes rooted in him, it is very difficult for anybody to take it out. And even for him to leave it, it's very difficult. But basically, he's a good person. So, because of it, his family is suffering. There is no income. He is probably sometimes misbehaving with his parents and wife and children, whatever it is. At some point of time, they also appeal to him. At that point, when he is, in a very somber mood, in as a proper mood, he definitely feels for them. And he also cries. He says, why am I gotten into this habit? I have to get out of this habit. Like that, he's genuinely feeling. That feeling is genuine. But what happens? Once he goes to the company, once he goes at time 6 o'clock, bell rings and the club he goes, that vasanas pull him, then he gets himself lost completely there. Again, the cycle continues. It's a very, very pitiable state. But then how he can get over this habit? However much others say also it will have an effect or impact, but that will be there temporarily. Unless otherwise his resolution is changed from within. Unless his intellect is resolved to such an extent that he has to get out of it, he will not get out of it. But who can change that intellect? That is the question. Who can change that intellect? Who can make it resolved? Who can make it strong? Somebody from within has to make that resolved. And that is where this comes. So, why a person is able to go to Duracharaha and other contexts or something, he finds some attraction in that. He finds some attraction in that, and that's where it goes. And however much you say, don't go, there's no attraction and other things, he may cooperate with you for a while, but when the time comes, he goes there. His vasanas pull him there. He's in like helplessly, he's just going there. Karyate ki avashaha says, la avasha, helplessly he goes there. So therefore, something he has to be shown more beautiful and more attractive than that. Only then he will be able to divert his attention. And that is what is the beauty of the self that he has to find from within. And that how he will get? He will get when he is getting associated with such type of people, such type of company or such type of things. So even if by certain association, once he tells my name, once he even utters my name like that, if he says that, then it becomes my duty to give him the direction. So even in a desert where there are no trees, I will create a oasis. There will be some water. That is how the nature is there, right? Even if there is no trees anywhere in the desert, somewhere you will find a tree. Some tree will be there. So even in this Kali Yuga, you said everywhere there is selfish people, everywhere there is bad company, everywhere there is, no, it is not like that. Once that small turn comes within you, there is automatically you will find. So it is like that once he sort of comes into my net, I will make sure that he does not move here or there. I will give him satsang, I will give him guru, I will give all those things will be given. It is just that I will have to, it is my responsibility and to make his resolution very strong. For which we have to understand that beauty first. So, a inspiring story of Ramanujacharya is there. Ramanujacharya with his disciples is resting under a tree. So there is a great muscular person like a Mr. Universe. You know, he is like so handsome a person and very muscular, very physically well built, and he is holding an umbrella for a beautiful lady, and that lady is also very beautiful lady, probably his wife or lover, who we do not know. He is holding the umbrella and walking, and it is somewhat an object of ridicule, as it were, that for his wife he is carrying the umbrella and walking behind such a strong person. So some people in the street are laughing and some are laughing inside, whatever it is. He is not bothered. That is the beauty. He is not bothered. He is walking past, and he is walking past the tree under which Ramanujacharya is also sitting with his devotees, and some of the devotees are also amused and they are laughing. But Ramanujacharya sees this differently. He tells his disciples, go and call that person. I want to meet that person. So they are very surprised that why is Acharya calling a person who is obviously going behind a woman. Like that, he calls that person, and he is asking him directly, are you not ashamed that you are holding an umbrella for a lady and going like this? So that person, with all his respect also for the Acharya, but submits and directly says, sir, if you see the beauty in her, the way that I see the beauty, I am a slave of her eyes. That beauty in her actually it is controlling me. I am her slave and she is my master, and I don't feel it below my dignity to hold an umbrella for her. Very openly he says like that. Acharya is even more impressed now. It is outwardly a very ridiculous answer. That if somebody says I am a slave of a girl, and it is a ridiculous answer, but Acharya is very more impressed. Then he challenges him. What if I show something more beautiful than her eyes? He says, no, not possible. Not possible. Nobody is more beautiful than her, and therefore I have submitted myself to her. Acharya says, I challenge. If I show you, what is your wager? So this person says, if you show me, I will transfer my surrender from her to not that other person, not the other person who is more beautiful than her, to you who shows me that person. To you who shows me that person. And the story is that when Lord Ranganatha comes in Srirangam in the path, the Acharya is taking him and shows him the Lord, and he says, can you show me any more beautiful eyes than his eyes? Like that the story goes. And he is changed. Change means he has now taken up the discipleship under Ramanujacharya. Here the point is, here this person has a fixation. That is what the Acharya is able to see. He is very resolved person. But his fixation is somewhere else. So Acharya's duty is to make that fixation go from this direction to that direction. Once that direction is fixed, his job is over. From now on, so that is the role of Acharya, that he brings you to that. Now the question is, how will you make him go there? It is to show that beauty only. Therefore, if you want to get that devotion and get into that surrender attitude, you have to read about the Lord and see the beauty in it. So that is why even when you read Upanishads, when you read Vedanta, when you read Bhagavad Gita, it is not a dry intellectual subject where you go through the thesis and analysis of it. You have to go into the 3D vision to see a 3D picture coming out of it, which is so beautiful. Once you start seeing the beauty in it, why will your mind be distracted here or there? That is what in the Charma Shloka of Varaha Purana he says, when my devotee is in the state of lying helplessly in his deathbed, even if he is like a stone or a log of wood, I will show my form unto him, because he has worshipped me when he was all right. So I will show unto him. I will remember him. I will take him in the right path. This is the Lord's promise. So if such a person, so nowhere does Lord says or Gita says that Ajnani is qualified for liberation. Nowhere does he says that an ignorant person gets self-realization. That is not the case. At that right time, to give him that jnana and absorb him into me is my responsibility. This is what he says. So if I am going to come and stand in front of him, how his mind will get deviated at all? It will not get deviated. So the role of a teacher is to get that thought into you so that you don't deviate here or there. That beauty has to be installed. Once that is there, what happens is that your intellect is rightly resolved. Samyak vyavasito saha. Then what happens? Then what happens is Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. It is a matter of time. It is a matter of time that he becomes dharmatma, and he is sure not to deviate anywhere here or there. Step by step by step, he is going to him, and his faith increases, his surrender attitude increases, his devotion increases, and then he finally says, Kaunteya pratijanihi. O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, know for certain, my devotee never perishes. It's a very, very strong promise. It's very interesting that Madhusudana Saraswati, the great Advaita Acharya also, when he is commenting on this verse, he plays with the words and shows it's just, as I said, you have to have the taste to understand it. It's not to go by literal meaning alone. So the literal meaning is that Krishna's devotee never perishes, or devotee of the self never perishes. My devotee means my can be interpreted as the supreme self. In any form you understand the self. But he says, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Garva pratignyam kuru. That is, with pride, you take this resolution. What is that resolution? Name bhakta pranashyati. Name bhakta pranashyati means Arjuna is saying, Na me bhakta pranashyati. My devotee never perishes. So he is telling Arjuna, you say that your devotee never perishes. So what it means is, again, going back to the Ambarisha story, if you have surrendered to the Lord, 100% guaranteed. If you have surrendered to the devotee of the Lord, 200% guaranteed. That is what it means. In the Vibhishana story also, there was conference, Rama context, whether to accept Vibhishana or not. But 4 Rakshasas come along with Vibhishana. For them, there is no discussion at all. Why? They have not surrendered to Rama. They have surrendered to Vibhishana. In the Maya, in the burning of the forest, before the Indraprastha is constructed also, Krishna's chakra comes, and Maya does not surrender to Krishna. He says, Arjuna, protect me, protect me. And if somebody is surrendered to Arjuna, it becomes Krishna's responsibility and the chakra is withdrawn. So it is very important for us to understand. So what is the takeaway here? If you want to understand what surrender is, of course, read Gita, Upanishad, all that is fine. But understand the life of a devotee. Get associated with the devotee. If you find a right devotee, never leave him at all. And let me tell you, even in this so-called whatever be the Iron Age, Kali Yuga, or whatever it is, there are people like this. And for us to start with, I would say, hold on to Satsang. Satsang will lead to Sadguru also. So once you get caught in that net, probably you will then cannot deviate here or there. This idea is given in the ancient mariner poem, which we have not read, but that one portion Swamiji narrates in the class, that a person goes on the voyage in the ship and comes back to the shore, and there are 3 persons who are going to the church to attend a wedding, and this person who has learned the lessons of life through his voyage wants to communicate that. Okay, so he is actually like the guru who wants to give out the knowledge of the self. The 3 persons represents the 3 gunas, or a tamasic person and a rajasic person and sattvic person. He leaves the tamasic and rajasic person who are oriented towards materiality, but then catches hold of the 3rd person, sattvic person, and he says, I want to give you this knowledge. There was a ship Poti, he is narrating the story. That person also says, leave me, leave me, leave me, I want to go. Because of his compulsion, he leaves the hand. But then he says he catches him with his glittering eye. He caught him with a glittering eye. So he's transfixed upon him that even though that person is now free to go to the wedding or materiality that he is chosen to go, he cannot go anymore. This person has arrested him. This is what will happen. Once you are rightly resolved and you are once into this, that it is as though becomes his responsibility that you will not be allowed to deviate here or there. Then it is a matter of time. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma sashvat chantim niganchati. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashti. Yeah, you can unmute from your end and speak if you have any questions.
It seems there seems to be an apparent contradiction about a wicked person or a person who is not so attuned his life into dharma, being also a devotee. Okay, because how would you describe a devotee? Devotee would be a person of this nature. In all likelihood, if he is a devotee, he would be doing it for some phala, some personal phala. How would it be a surrender, or would it be for some something material in this world? There seems to be, I don't know, I'm not able to grasp this contradiction. Sorry.
Yeah, there's no contradiction. It is that we are all at different levels of our evolution and our relationship with God, as it were. So a person, in Bhagavad, the term used is that, what is it called? It is called as ahaituki bhakti. Ahaituki bhakti, hetu means cause. Ahetu means no cause. Ahaituki bhakti means a bhakti without cause. So, in that portion of 7th chapter where we talked about Jnani, a person like Prahalada or Hanuman or somebody who are all the epitome of devotion, they are all able to be devotees without any cause. They do not want anything with reference to terrestrial fruits also. They do not want anything transcendental also. For them, that is the stage. Okay. So that is also a devotee, but Artharthi is also a devotee, one who goes to Tirupati, prays to God to get money or get elected in an election, or he wants a post as a mayor or whatever. He is also a devotee. A person who has deep trouble inside and he cries in front of the Lord just for emotional solace, he is also a devotee. Or who says that, let me gain first rank or get knowledge, he is also a devotee. All these are devotees at various levels. A person who has not even turned towards God and he is also in the world, if by any chance he turns towards this side, he says at that very point he becomes a devotee. That's all. That's about all. From that time onwards, he is rightly resolved. He is going to. So there is no contradiction here. It is just that it is saying that at any stage that we are, there is a capability, possibility for us to move towards that higher stage.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.